Before I will say anything, watch this video.
Who was God talking to, and where did Cain find a wife to marry? You must remember that Israel was not the only nation on the earth, but Israel was used by God as a nation to communicate his salvation plan, to communicate his deliverance, to communicate his love, and to communicate as a type. Israel was a typology in the Old Testament. They were not the only nation. So, and Adam and Eve were not the only people on earth, but they were used as a family to communicate God's plan. Because you can't just be talking, using everybody. You have to build a story. So that's why it was not just Adam and Eve that were on earth. There were other people. And that is why Cain could find a wife to marry. All right? That's just at the background. All right? But that's not even important.
It is important. How can you say it is not important? One day I made a video here that it is not possible that the God of the Bible, if he truly exists, should be the creator of all of humanity, because there must have been other people living on this earth before Adam and Eve were created. You Christians came at me. You said I'm an antichrist. I am challenging God. Now you are hearing it directly from your pastor. I hope you are also going to attack him, because it is now coming from your pastor. Your pastors have started understanding that critical thinkers are asking serious questions that are really shaking the foundations of Christian doctrine. And when I say Christian doctrine is the most confused doctrine in the world, I'm not just saying this because I hate Christianity. I'm saying what is the truth. All right, now that we have established that Adam and Eve were not the only people who were living on this earth, there were other people. Let us analyze it and see how this very thought deconstructs Christianity completely from the foundation. If Adam and Eve were not the first people living on earth, it means the Bible story in the book of Genesis is just a fairy tale. It cannot be real, because it begins with the earth was without form and darkness covered the face of the earth. So if darkness covered the face of the earth, these other people that the pastor is talking about in this video, where were they living? It says it is God who said, "Let there be light," before that light was created. Where were the other people that were living on this earth? Let's even dive deeper. Adam and Eve were not the only people on earth. There were other people on earth. It means it was only Adam and Eve that were living in that garden of Eden. They were the only ones who had access to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So the order not to eat from that tree was given to Adam and Eve, not to the other people. It is Adam and Eve who disobeyed God. They are the ones who ate the fruit. So when God came and cursed them, the curse was to Adam and Eve, not to the rest of the people living here on earth. For example, when God said to Adam, "The ground shall produce thorns and thistles for you. You shall eat at the sweat of your brow." That was a curse to Adam, not to the other people living on earth. And to Eve, when God said, "I shall multiply your pains at childbearing," that curse was to Eve and not to the other people that were living somewhere on earth that the Bible says nothing about. Since that is the case, now let's answer this question. Why is it that other humans who did not participate in Adam's sin also have to eat at the sweat of their brow? Why is the curse affecting them when they were not there? Why is it that other women who did not partake in Eve's sin also have to experience pain at childbearing? From what this pastor said, God was using one family to communicate whatever he wanted to communicate to humanity. So Adam and Eve were direct ancestors of the Israelites according to the Bible. So the rest of us who are not Israelites, we are not concerned. It means this original sin that Christians talk about that we inherited from Adam and Eve does not concern us. How does it concern you, an African? This thing is something that is talking about the ancestors of the Israelites. Why are you preaching that gospel to us? This is why I said Yahweh is a tribal deity to the Israelites. Whatever they say in that Bible concerns the Israelites and only the Israelites. It does not concern us Africans. So why do they now generalize that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God? This all have sinned is Israel and their ancestors, right up to Adam. They are the ones who were created by Yahweh, and they are the ones who sinned against Yahweh, and the curse is supposed to follow them. No matter how you explain this, it does not make sense.